Yes. My name is Patrick Cicero, Cicero.
Tell the jury where you're employed, sir.
I'm employed with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office, where I currently hold the rank of Major.
And how long have you worked for the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department?
I've worked with LaPorte County for over 24 years.
And what are your current duties, sir?
As the Major, I'm mostly in charge of our Civil DI Division. I handle the civil employees and our captains, a lot of budgetary issues. I'm the third in charge of our agency.
And what positions have you held at the LaPorte County?
When I first started, I was a patrol officer. I was promoted very quickly, approximately a year later, to the rank of detective, where I remained for the majority of my career. I was in our detective bureau for over 20 years, with the last approximately 9 years being the chief of detectives. Prior to my tenure with the LaPorte County Sheriff's Office, I was also an officer with the Indiana University Police Department in Bloomington. I was also an officer with the Amtrak Railroads, assigned to the Chicago Division.
And what training have you received as an officer, both in your?
Sure. As an officer, we all go through standardized training to be law enforcement officers in the state of Indiana. Most of my training is around the forensic disciplines, and I was a crime scene investigator starting approximately 2002, and remained as such to this day as a crime scene investigator. Forensics are my specialty, and many facets of forensics and crime scene investigations more for the field type of investigations, training in bloodstain pattern analysis, crime scene reconstruction, just a litany of different types of trainings I've taken over 20 years.
And that include not just as a crime scene investigator, but when you mentioned bloodstain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction, does that also include entomology?
Yes. I, as a crime scene investigator in the state of Indiana, we received entomology training, but I have received specialized entomology training over the years to where it's mostly focused on the investigative approach and the collection procedures for crime scene investigators.
And do you have any certifications in any of the subspecialties of detective or investigation work?
So I'm a certified crime scene investigator for the state of Indiana. I'm also on the certification board for the state, and so I certify crime scene investigators throughout the state as they go through their futures as crime scene investigators to ensure that we're maintaining standards.
And by being certified, does that require you to attend a seminar or several seminars, or do you have to prove or demonstrate some level of expertise in order to be certified?
Yes. So with our certification program in the state of Indiana, it requires a certain amount of training, years of service as a crime scene investigator. There are proficiency tests, a written test as well, and you must show your work. The certification program lasts 3 years, and then you can get a recertification.
What training have you received in bloodstain pattern analysis?
Over my career, I have attended numerous training venues, at least 3 40-hour courses in just the basic bloodstain pattern analysis, advanced courses in bloodstain pattern analysis. Just one of the venues was just dealing with fabrics. And then, I've attended several conferences over the years where there'd be break-off sessions talking about bloodstain analysis or certain areas of bloodstain pattern analysis. During reconstruction-type crime scene reconstruction training, bloodstain pattern analysis is very synonymous in working together with the reconstructive model.
And what professional organizations are you a part of?
I'm with the International Association of Identificat Ion, and I'm also with the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts.
Why are you a part of those organizations?
The organizations, they provide guidance, updates with training, as well as standards, and being a part of a professional organization keeps you fresh with the current trends.
How many bloodstain pattern analysis cases have you been involved in where you've worked and approached it from incorporating your bloodstain pattern analysis expertise?
Over the years, I've probably investigated several hundred investigations where blood was present at the scene and needed to be at least documented or...
And is all that in LaPorte County where you've done that work?
No. I have done work for Lake County, Porter County, St. Joe County, Jasper County, Stark County, Lawrence County near Bloomington, of course Carroll County, and I was asked to work on a case in Las Cruces, New Mexico years ago.
Have you testified as a bloodstain pattern analysis witness expert?
Yes. This is my 34th time testifying in a court of law.
And have you given lectures on the areas of these subspecialties of crime scene investigation that you've mentioned?
Yes. For bloodstain pattern analysis, I have been instructing at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, teaching the crime scene investigator course, for the past I believe 9 or 10 years. I have taught at St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, which is now closed, both the basic and advanced courses there. Again, talking about bloodstain pattern analysis, I'm on a rotation now with the National Forensic Academy at the University of Tennessee. I've taught many lectures concerning crime scene investigations to not only our officers, but other agencies. For the last 18 years, I have been employed with the University of Tennessee as their instructor for forensic entomology for the crime scene investigator, and I still maintain that my tenure there. So it's something I've done for many years of different disciplines with the crime scene investigation umbrella, if you will.
I'm gonna hand you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 285, Major Cicero. Can you identify that for me?
Yes. This is my CV or curriculum vitae.
And does it, in further detail, describe your experience and your education and training in crime scene investigation and the subspecialties that you've mentioned?
Yes, sir.
I would move the admission of State's Exhibit 285, Your Honor. State's Exhibit 285 offered.
No objection. All right. Without objection, 285 is admitted.
May I pass the exhibit?
You may. You may proceed.
I'm not sure if I asked you. I may have. How long have you been involved in bloodstain pattern analysis?
It's over 20 years now.
Would you please describe that field? Is it correct? I've called it a subspecialty of crime scene investigations. Is that accurate?
It's just a part of crime scene investigations.
Would you please describe that for the jury, please?
Sure. Blood stain pattern analysis is a field of study that relies upon a.
And how do you know that a particular blood stain pattern is consistent with certain actions if you weren't there when it happened?
As I stated, blood is a fluid. It reacts in a predictable, measurable, repeatable fashion. We know through studies, experimentation, visiting the scene, knowing what had happened, that the blood will react in a very similar manner depending upon the volume and the force applied to blood. It is repeatable, testable, measurable. The theory of blood stain pattern analysis is the fact that it is a fluid, it will react in that manner.
What are some characteristics would you summarize for the jury, the characteristics of blood stain that can be examined as you make determinations?
Well, the characteristics are the size of the blood stain that, depending upon on the size, can tell us as to the type of force or energy that may have been applied to blood. If we compared it to water, for example, and I put water into the palm of my hand and I smack my hand, we know what would happen as people who've lived on this planet for a while, that it'll go in many different directions. It'll actually turn into water drops as opposed to a body of water. We look at the shape of the stains, whether they're round or elliptical, because we have a principle of the stain shape in vector principle.
And you have studied the various physical properties of blood, is that correct?
Yes.
And the characteristics of blood stains that give you information about how the blood got there?
Yes. We're talking about the properties of blood of being cohesive, where blood wants to stick together. Blood is also adhesive, so if I have an object or even my hand, blood has adhesive qualities or wants to stick on my hand. But when forces are applied to blood, that's when it's propelled or flung off. Blood, of course, like any kind of fluid, has a certain viscosity as well.
What is crime scene reconstruction?
Crime scene reconstruction is a discipline that incorporates all different disciplines and their results. So as a reconstructionist, I will utilize the results of a blood stain pattern analysis. I will utilize results of a shooting.
You've been taught this crime scene reconstruction, as well as the blood stain pattern analysis.
That is correct.
And have you actually performed those that in the field, like you have with blood stain pattern analysis?
I have several times.
And have you taught crime scene reconstruction like you were taught and like you practiced in real-life cases out in the field?
Yes, I have.
And who have you taught?
I've taught the attendees at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy.
And are those, I assume, primarily from Indiana?
Yes, mostly Indiana. We've had some Illinois students as well.
And have you, as you said, you testified in blood stain pattern analysis? Have you testified in crime scene reconstruction?
Yes. Certain portions of the reconstruction were always included in our.
And what you mentioned the National Academy at the University of Tennessee, the National, did I get that right? National Forensic Academy?
Yes, the National Forensic Academy with the Tennessee's Law Enforcement Innovation Center.
And you've taught there. What various topics and disciplines have you taught there?
Well, as of recently, bloodstain pattern analysis, but for the last 18 years, I've taught primarily forensic entomology for the crime scene investigator. I have taught topics as far as what's called scatter investigations to where, when body parts are scattered, how to document and collect those. And I work with forensic anthropologists on other areas of interest, such as time since death and working with exhumation techniques.
Were you asked to assist in this particular case and provide NCGHT and analysis on blood stain pattern analysis, as well as crime scene reconstruction?
Yes.
And when did you begin your involvement in this matter?
It was February 12th of 2024, is when I first had communications with the prosecutor's office here.
Would you tell the jury what you did to prepare yourself? What materials did you review?
I reviewed numerous files of photographs on a flash drive. I reviewed reports, specifically autopsy reports, the diagrams, laboratory reports. I'm sure there's additional data that I reviewed.
Did that include the DNA reports prepared and signed off on by Stacy?
Yes. Yes, it did.
And the photographs, did that include, among them, photographs obtained by the crime scene investigators, Sergeants Page, Datsman, and Olihi?
Yes.
And not just the photographs that the jury may have seen, but all of the photographs that they did, at least that were provided to you. You examined those?
That is correct.
What about the autopsy photographs? Did you examine those?
Yes, I did.
And you mentioned reports, the autopsy report?
Yes, sir.
And what about personally examining things? Did you go to the scene, this location where this crime occurred?
Yes. On April 4th, 2024, I visited the scene, and on April 5th, I examined the clothing worn by Abby.
And the clothing worn by her, specifically what items did you personally examine?
I examined a pair of jeans, a dark-colored hoodie sweatshirt, a pink shirt, sleeveless shirt, a gray sports brassiere, and a black regular brassiere, and a pair of shoes, canvas shoes.
I'm sorry if you mentioned it. Did that also include a black hoodie sweatshirt?
Yeah, it was a dark-colored, black or dark blue. It was a dark-colored.
With the name German on it?
That is correct, sir.
I'm gonna hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as Court Exhibits 286, 287, and 288. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes, sir.
And were they 3 of the many photographs you reviewed of the crime scene?
Yes, sir.
I believe we've agreed these were 3 that were not admitted previously, Your Honor. That's why they're being shown now, and I would move the admission of 286, 287, and 288. States Exhibits 286 through 288 offered.
Is 286 with the ruler?
Yes.
And 288, Abby?
287 is the lower part of the tree, and 288 is a cropped photograph of Abby.
No objection. All right. Without objection, 286 to 288 inclusive are admitted. States Exhibits 286 through 288 admitted. Whoa, that's not admitted. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Has that been admitted?
It has, yes.
What exhibit is it?
May we approach?
Yeah.
Sidebar conference conducted.
Those are fair questions. My problem is, I know every one of the photos now have been offered into evidence. I cannot assert to the court that I know the exhibit numbers on any of these.
No, but I remember seeing that one. 18, 19, and 20.
I apologize. If you want me to make the record with the exhibit numbers, I'll have to take a recess and examine them, but I'm prepared to go ahead, if you are. I'm certain that they were all in evidence.
I believe you that they've been admitted, but just for the record I think it's important to have an exhibit number. They have an exhibit number 286, 287, 288. So are you telling me we need to take a break?
Let me see if I can do it this way, Your Honor.
Okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
We're looking, for the record, at State's Exhibit 20. Is this a diagram that you recognize?
Yes, it is, sir.
And in fact, are you familiar with the photographs on which it's patterned or copied upon in its preparation?
Yes, sir.
And would it assist you in describing and talking about the facts of this case?
Yes. It provides some accurate depiction of the spatial relationships between blood evidence and where the decedents were located.
Thank you. Just one moment, Your Honor. You've testified that you went to this location that this diagram depicts and walked that scene yourself.
I did, yes, sir.
And you did so after you examined the photographs of the scene?
Yes.
And would you tell the jury how that assisted you?
Again, when I referred to the term spatial relationships, specifically to the left of the diagram you see a darker gray somewhat of a circle and it's labeled tree, it assisted me the distance between that small tree and the large tree and where the decedents were located in the scene approximately, of course. Being the tree itself also assisted in that I suspected there was a lean to the tree, there is a natural lean to the small tree that is as well. So it just assisted spatial relationships and the topography itself. The area to which the decedents were located, it's almost a somewhat of a bowl or a depression, if you will, where, as you get closer to the small tree, it actually raises up in elevation.
This next photograph, is this one that you reviewed?
Yes, it is, sir.
And?
Is there an exhibit number?
I'm sorry, I know it's an exhibit, I have it here, but I do not know the number. I can provide it for you later. And was this one of the photographs that you examined?
Yes, one of many.
Would you be comfortable, sir, in coming down and I may be able to ask you questions with referring to the screen on this and subsequent photos? Does that photograph show the bowl area that the girls were found?
Yes, it does. Depth perception is a little difficult based upon this two-dimensional photograph, but I'm sorry. Did I do that?
You may have, but it's fine.
Okay. As we get farther towards Abby and Libby, the topography loses elevation. It's almost like a bowl, if you will. This is the small tree I was referring to in the diagram. Libby is next to the larger tree.
And the tree in the foreground, the smaller tree that you referenced, have you heard a phrase? Blood-stained tree.
Yes, sir.
And where approximately it's not a close-up, but are you familiar with where on that tree and point the jury where blood was documented via photographs, as you can see it?
Sure. So when I'm approximately 4 feet from the base of the tree is a blood stain that is located at this location. Indicates. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That'll work.
And I believe there'll be additional photographs just on the right around the corner of the stain, approximately 4 feet again, are additional blood stains, as well as right below the stain on the right side of the tree are additional stains. If we can bring it back at this.
And when you said approximately 4 feet, the upper portion of the blood stain, the middle of what we're looking at of that tree, that's because you've seen measurements from the ground to that location.
Yes. There's other photographs with a scale within the photographs.
And it's just right around just under 4 feet?
Approximately.
This next photograph.
Before we go, Your Honor, can the record reflect that Major Cicero was referring to Exhibit 38?
Thank you.
I believe that's correct. I would agree with that.
But it states Exhibit 286, 87, and 88, correct?
286 and 287 and 288, Your Honor.
Those are the photos.
Are the photos that were not in evidence, and that have been a part of this presentation.
Okay.
What do we see here?
This is just a closer exposure of the tree with a blood stain that is at this location, again approximately 4 feet from the base of the tree, and you see the decedents in the background.
For the record, that is Exhibit 39.
37.
37, thank you. Yes, 37. I'm now showing you what's been admitted into evidence as States Exhibit 286. Was that a close-up of that tree with a measuring device?
Yes. It's a close-up of the blood stain upon that tree with the SCA-LU to provide reference as to how large it is. Utilizing the scale, it measures approximately 1.37 inches across this horizontal stain here, and I believe it's 5.9 inches from the top of the stain to the bottom of the specific stain, so it looks large on the screen, but it's not a very large stain. As well, in this area of the pattern, there were additional stains that measure approximately less than 1 to 3 millimeters in size. And with blood stain pattern analysis, we measure in metric. These stains were round and consistent with what's referred to as spatter. And spatter, S-P-A-T-T-E-R, is not splatter, it's spatter. And that is a mechanism to which, when force is applied to blood, some type of force, blood becomes individual drops and made contact with that tree. This stain, the large stain that I just described, is consistent with what's referred to as a transfer stain, and a transfer stain is nothing more than a bloody object coming in contact with the tree. Likewise, there are ARE stains on peripheral of the stain right here that are also several contact stains, contact transfer, if you will. This particular stain on the right of this stain in the center is also consistent with a transfer stain.
So you have previously used a designation to describe the shape of an upside-down L. Is that correct?
That is correct. I described this as an upside-down L.
And around that upside-down L are various, as you described, spatter to as the jury's looking at it, to the left, and then a larger than the spatter, a portion right there adjacent to the vertical part of the upside-down L, right there?
Yes, sir.
And then you're saying around the corner, around the tree, you see there's photographs of other blood on that tree?
Yes, sir.
What are we looking at here? This is States Exhibit 287.
Yes, sir, I believe this is the blood stain that's approximately 2 feet from the base, more on the north side of the tree, and it's consistent with transfer stains. And the area located here indicates, in the photograph and here, indicates, you see it looks a little bit darker. That is consistent with blood accumulating, there's more volume and, as it dries, it became dark brown, almost black.
Did I put that photograph in upside down, sir?
I don't believe so. But then again, I'm not real sure, sir. But then again, maybe you did because the leaves are up here.
It looks like I had flipped it. My apologies. If you would take States Exhibit 287 and walk, I'd ask you to walk towards the jury and show that in its proper configuration, right side up.
Which exhibit is that?
287, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you? That wasn't a test, Major Cicero. It was my error. The
crime scene investigators applied a chemical that's called leucocrystal violet, and what occurs with the chemical is that it will stain blood to help with contrasting colors. What we see with the color of the bark, it sometimes mars blood stains or it confuses us. So utilizing the chemical, it really brings out the contrast.
Is this a chemical that you've used in your crime scene work and your blood stain pattern analysis?
Yes, sir, several times.
And what did you find significant about this photograph?
The enhancement to, view it better provided me with some better insight as to specific areas of this larger stain that's in the middle. The hypothesis was developed that because this area, the horizontal part of the upside-down L, was very squared and it was something that we don't normally commonly see with just a transfer. Likewise, this stain that's over to the right of the large stain in the middle of the photograph also presented some interesting detail, where the margins they're uniform, they're smooth and uniform, and even so the hypothesis was developed that this was more consistent now with what's referred to as a pattern transfer. And what a pattern transfer is we have an object that would leave repetitive patterns that appear the same.
And does this same violet color appear to be on the other portions of this bark, not just the spot adjacent to the vertical portion, but over here to the right? Is that or left? Is that correct?
It appears that way, yes, sir.
And would that be where you have seen blood on the previous ES photographs?
I did not see that with my naked eyes without the enhancement. It's just the color of the bark could somehow, be very faint stains on bark as well. It brought it out.
That chemical's reacting. Is it reacting to blood?
That's what it's intended to do, yes.
And that's what's happening here.
To the best of my knowledge, as to how they applied it, I believe so.
And we have here where is this particular application of the chemical on the tree?
I believe this is also the north side of the tree that the previous exhibit we saw was approximately 2 feet above from the base of the tree itself, and as we can see it looks more voluminous, but that's just the stain itself. Very faint stains will come up because of the chemical.
For the record, this is States Exhibit 53. Previously thought it was 52. Did this help you in your analysis of determining the best explanation for how the blood was applied to the tree?
Yes. It's all consistent with a transfer, so some bloody object would come in contact with the tree.
And it's this photograph with the law enforcement's evidence markers 1 and 2 in the left-hand foreground. You're familiar with this photograph?
Yes, I am.
And how does this help? How did this help you understand the location?
The CSIs who investigated this, from what I understand, utilized evidence marker number 1 as the location where there was a blood stain approximately 2 feet to the, I believe, north or northeast of the tree. This blood stain in itself, located here, is an accumulation of blood, and it's not just drips that were falling, it was a larger than just drips, consistent with, more likely, a small pooling, but because of the surface of the leaves and the G-round, we didn't really see a pool per se, but there was an accumulation there. What I believe is to be more stains were identified at placard number 2. It was not as voluminous to create a pool, but there were stains that the CSIs discovered there.
This next photograph shows 3 and 4 evidence markers by the police, 3 and 4 in the right-hand side. We're looking at this photograph. And how did you consider this photograph when you were doing your exam?
For context, here is the small tree with the upside-down L. Indicates, so between the tree and where the decedents are laying, for when I originally viewed these photographs I thought was possibly either another blood stain that was observed, whether it be multiple drips or a small accumulation, and I thought it was my understanding that 3 was possibly a larger pooling of blood. May 4th represent that pool of blood, may 3rd be something of a different nature, but they're identifying something that they observed there. I was not quite sure when I observed it.
You know that there is the largest pool collection of blood at the scene and that it's in this photograph. Is that correct?
It is. This dark location here in the photograph indicates is what's referred to as a pool of blood, and it was in the process of coagulation. What coagulation is when we have a pool of blood with its clotting factors.
This next photograph showing the body of Libby in the foreground, Abby in the background. These next few photographs I think will describe I'd like you to look at, and then tell the jury what you're learning from them. Was there anything about this specific photo you wanted to point out?
With this specific photo, I wanted to point out that the blood stains that were under Libby's right leg, specifically you see in this photograph the calf, the ankle, and the bottom of the foot here, or the side of the foot in this.
States Exhibit 40, looking at previously admitted, and this photograph looking towards the girls with the blood in the foreground. Is that correct?
Yes. This is the large pooling of blood and coagulate of blood at this location. There's also blood that extends outward towards Libby that was not part of the coagulant or the pooling.
You may try to stay to the side there.
I'm sorry.
As much as possible, so all the jurors can see.
So here is the pooling and the coagulant. Indicates, and here these leaves and branches are stained. Indicates.
States Exhibit 39.
So the coagulant or the gelatinous mass of blood is here, indicates. And as we go farther towards Libby, you can see that these leaves are stained. This stick is stained, and it continues on. This is Libby's right leg. Here's the bottom of her foot. It's not in focus, but there's a blood stain on the bottom of her foot.
And when you say transfer, again what do you mean?
So a bloody object came in contact with the bottom of her foot.
And when you say an object, what could that be?
It would be consistent with Libby moving and basically walking on blood.
This photograph, looking down on Libby's body, what did you observe in this photograph from a blood-stain pattern perspective?
On the lower torso and the torso are numerous blood stains consistent with flow patterns. A flow pattern is a volume of blood and BAS due to gravity, the blood will flow downwards based upon the gravity force. The stains that are marred are referred to as altered stains, meaning that it goes through the flow patterns and creates what appears to be transfer stains. So this is a complex pattern in the fact that they're overlapping each other and flows had occurred. You can see that, at some point, the best explanation for the appearance of the flow is that Libby was upright. You can also see with the flows that they've changed direction going downwards, and you can also see subsequent alterations or transfers through the flow patterns. Around her neck and her upper chest.
You may try to stand over on.
Yes.
This other side, please, and see if that.
Around the neck and upper chest area there are numerous blood stains.
And that would be both hands, correct?
That would be both hands, just in this photo is the left hand.
When you mentioned some kind of flow to the right of her right eye, did you examine that from other photographs?
I did.
This is the left hand?
This is Libby's left hand. Again, in the cuticles there's a significant amount of blood that just coagulated and almost became like a scab, like just a voluminous amount of blood on the hands, transfer stains or altered stains on the wrist and forearm as well.
This photograph, again the branches have been removed, and you see that collection of blood. We'll move on to was there anything specific about this photograph that you wanted that helped you analyze it?
It's just a closer shot of the blood stain and the flow patterns on the face, as well as this flow pattern exhibited signs of dilution, meaning that there was some type of moisture mixed in with the blood.
And in your experience, what would have that been?
Absent a raindrop or water, it could be consistent with a tear.
Is the pool shown from a different vantage point in this photograph?
Yes. The pooling is located here, indicates the coagulation pooling.
We have the right hand?
Yes, this is the right hand. Similar to the left hand, a voluminous amount of dried blood on the hands, within the cuticles. We can see a flow pattern, I'm not quite sure as to the direction of the flow. Several different transfer stains and alterations. This is
the left hand from another angle. Is that correct?
Yes, the left hand from another angle. You can see that the hand a voluminous amount of blood. You can see that some blood had been basically transferred off, or maybe she had touched something to remove that blood.
Now we're looking at the photograph showing the right thigh of Libby.
Yes, this is Libby's right thigh. This consists of blood stains, voluminous drips of blood stains with subsequent flows. This is the top of the right thigh. This pattern is consistent with what's referred to as a projected pattern. A projected pattern is a volume of blood which is ejected out of a breach from one of the larger vessels, such as an artery or a vein. Positioning is of such with the flow patterns going downward, gravity will take over, that's the energy that's applied, that the leg would have had to have been somewhat underneath the injury itself for the blood to project out of the wound, which we know is the neck, and land upon the leg like that.
If Libby had been standing when that blood hit her thigh, would you see a different pattern?
What we would see are the flow patterns flowing downward towards the.
Given the injuries to her neck and given this pattern here, do you have an opinion for the jury as to her positioning when that blood pattern landed on her thigh?
The best explanation for the appearance of this particular projected pattern is that Libby would probably have been seated at one point for the wound to be somewhat over the leg and to come right down, and then for the flow patterns to have occurred while the blood was still wet.
Now, we've seen from a more straight-on view that pattern on the thigh. What do you see here, sir, that you can tell the jury?
This just reinforces the fact that this is a projected pattern. We see the individual drops that were voluminous. We also see what's referred to as these little arms that called scallops, that is showing energy, and the type of energy that's applied with this type of projected pattern is what's called hydrostatic pressure, meaning it's the cardiovascular system pumping out blood and the blood voluminously hitting the leg, creating that pattern, and, of course, the subsequent flows are also an indication of the volume of blood.
I believe we have a close-up here of Libby's face. Did you examine that closely before coming to your conclusions?
Yes, sir.
You had testified about altered blood pattern. Would you tell the jury what you mean by altered blood pattern?
Any blood pattern that originates and it has a subsequent alteration, usually where in the realm of the transfer stains, where we call it a swipe, where blood is on an object and you can see movement, or a transfer stain that's.
And did you find what you believe to be, on the body of Libby, altered blood patterns?
Yes. Consistent with the legs, with the projected pattern, where especially going into the interior portion of the leg there's alterations, as well as the torso area where something wiped or swiped through the blood, so it's an altered state as a result.
This close-up view, does this show us the area of a closer view of the area on the eye?
Yes. So extending from the eye down to the ear, as we can see, it gets lighter and still maintaining on the peripheral of the stain a darker appearance. This is textbook consistent with dilution.
With all the blood under her nose and extending down from that, across her right cheek, does it give the appearance that she is bleeding from her nose?
It gives the appearance, but we know from the postmortem or the autopsy that she did not have injuries to her nose. What would have happened is the blood being fluid and it takes the path of least resistance. Gravity would have occurred where her head would have had to have been lower than where the blood source was located, so it's indicative of movement.
Do you believe Libby was moved after she died or after she was unconscious?
Yes.
And would that movement have resulted in this distribution or this pattern?
Yes, it could have, yes.
This is the photograph of before she is moved or her body is being moved, but before she is removed from the location. Tell the jury what you found significant about this photograph showing the back and the leaves adhering to her back.
Along the leg, there's blood staining. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. There's blood staining on the leg as well as, and this is the right leg. As we observed on previous photographs, I've noted the blood on the side, underneath on the interface between the ground and the leg and along the backside and again, my apologies. What we see is also, because of the adhesive nature of blood, the leaves are sticking to the blood.
This is the photograph showing after Libby has been moved that night. An examination, did you find anything significant about this photograph?
Yes. It was just a little bit of blood on these leaves located here where Libby was discovered. This would indicate that she is no longer bleeding because if she was still alive and bleeding, we'd expect to see a pooling.
Now we're gonna look at some photographs of Abby. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you find significant about this photograph?
There was, according to the DNA reports and crime scene photographs, this is the only area of blood for Abby. You can see that there is what appears to be a small pooling to the right of her right arm and shoulder. The injury to Abby is on the left side of the neck, and I believe we'll see better photographs of the area underneath the body and in this dark hoodie sweatshirt, that it's very.
And did you examine a multitude of photographs of that sweatshirt while it was on her body, and then you also viewed the sweatshirt up close, personally observing it, correct?
Yes. That occurred on April 5th, 2024.
Now the sleeves have been pulled down. What did you notice about this photograph? And this is for the record, this is State's Exhibit 288.
What I noticed about this photograph, contrary to what we've observed with Libby, there were no blood stains observed on Abby's hands. Likewise, I observed many different photos of Abby at the crime scene in different views, different angles, different lighting, and I could not observe any blood stains that were on the sleeves or the arms of the Abby.
Now you examined several autopsy photographs, as well, did you not?
I did.
And in fact, did you see anything different on her hands at the autopsy?
The autopsy photos, her hands did have blood on them, her arms and hands.
Was she wearing the sweatshirt at the time when in the autopsy when she had the photographs with the blood on her hands?
I have no data that anything was taken off of Abby.
But in those photographs, she was not wearing the sweatshirt, was she?
I understand your question. Yes, she was not wearing the sweatshirt at the time in the autopsy.
And you visited this scene yourself?
Yes, I did.
And you know that they had to be carried out with the assistance of some kind of a cart. Is that your understanding?
That's what I was informed, yes.
And you know what that hill's like between them and the area of the cemetery up above, correct?
It's very steep.
And in your experience, how many death scenes have you been to?
Hundreds, sir.
Would it be unusual for the blood to what would be the normal course of the blood when she has been placed into a bag and moved up that hill and transported to a van to go the morgue?
Sure. Well, blood, it should be noted that in my analysis and my report, I noted that blood was still wet and dried and coagulated. Movement of the body within a body bag could somehow affect all the saturation if blood stains were still wet on the actual shirt or the sweatshirt itself. So during transport, manipulation of the body, picking the body up, more blood stains could transfer as a result of those actions.
In fact, in these photographs, you see no blood, the crime scene photographs of Abby's hands?
That is correct, neither the hands nor sleeves. And there's many other.
Given your personal observation of this sweatshirt, and your examination of the photographs at the crime scene, would removal of that sweatshirt have changed or altered the blood pattern on her body in any way?
More than likely, yes.
This photograph is another. Now the hands are still within the sweatshirt. What did you find important about this photograph?
As you stated, the hands are in the sweatshirt. The sticks were removed at this point when these photos were taken, and noted the flow patterns that are going up the chin, defying gravity. This is also consistent with her positioning, as bloodstains on her, under her chin and over her chin are not consistent with her final resting place.
Was blood coming from her mouth? Is that where that blood would come?
According to the autopsy report, there was no injuries to the mouth. This is more consistent with the blood coming from the actual wound itself and going over the chin and into the mouth.
A close-up of that view of the injury to the neck?
Yes, this is where the injury's at. It's my understanding the jugular vein was breached, which would create a lot of blood loss, and this is a coagulation of wet and dry blood on the face. This is a...
Is this her right hand?
Yes, it is her right hand. Again, no blood noted on the hand.
We have another view of the right hand.
Yes, the right hand with no blood on the inside of the hand or sides of the hand or fingers.
Did you consider this, with the torso exposed and her, did you consider this to be significant?
Yes, it's significant due to the absence of blood on the gray brassiere below the breast line. There's no blood stains observed on the shirt, nor the torso area. This would be consistent with Abby's was wearing this at the time she passed away.
Now the left hand.
Again, the left hand, no blood noted on the hand whatsoever.
And this view of looking down on her and seeing the blood on the chin.
So
What did you note here?
Just a close-up shot of how the blood flowed up and over around the chin, indication that she was moved at some point when the blood was still liquid in that location. You can also see saturation stains here on the dark sweatshirt, which again you can't see any type of redness or saturation on the sleeves.
So this is a dark sweatshirt, but you said blood is very visible on that?
Yes, you can still see the blood.
But when you examined blood on the sleeves and the cuffs, you didn't see that discoloration?
Not in the crime scene photos, no sir.
When you say something about being moved or she was moved or moved, what movement do you see as illustrated by these photographs of Abby?
In order for these blood stains to have occurred and the appearance of the flow patterns, it appears as though that Abby shed would have had to have gone back or the blood source would have had to have been above in order to.
I want to go back to this photograph and ask you, Major Cicero, did you consider how you believe the best explanation for the blood on the tree, which is the left part of this diagram?
Based upon the blood evidence and the context of the scene, the bloodletting occurred somewhere in this general area indicates. Because blood, especially to the injuries that were to Libby and all this blood that's on the outside of these different locations, this not scale diagram all belongs to Libby from what I remember of the report.
So except for the blood near the body of or under the body or near the body of Abby, are you saying all the blood, according to your review of the reports, was whose blood?
Libby's. So the bloodletting event would have occurred somewhere here, the beginning of it indicates. And this is a result of both carotid arteries being breached as well as the jugular vein. Blood would be almost instantaneous and would be very voluminous. It is a normal reactee from my experience in observing others who were victims, that the victim or the decedent would put their hands in the area of the blood loss, hence staining your hands. And we observed the hands on Libby's hands.
So what you saw on Libby's hands is what you're accustomed to seeing at homicide scenes, death scenes.
With that type of breach of such an artery or both arteries and the jugular vein, yes, we would see a lot of blood on their hands.
Can you tell the jury, Major Cicero, where you believe the best explanation for where you believe Libby would have been when she was?
She would have been injured here initially in this vicinity. Indicates movement would have been to this location, where again she continued to bleed. And here, this very large pooling that you saw, the coagulation, is where Libby most likely succumbed to her injuries.
And which part of her body do you think was most likely? Where do you think it was positioned in relation to the pool?
It's likely that her positioning of the neck would be in this general vicinity, her head and neck in this general vicinity, for the blood pooling to have occurred. These subsequent blood stains that you see between the pooling and her body was a result of Libby most likely being dragged to that location and transferring the blood.
In considering the photographs and your visit to the scene, can you tell the jury what would have been if? Let me back up. From the perspective of the creek, would Libby's body have been more exposed if it were at the large pool or behind the tree? Where would her body?
Objection, Your Honor.
Be most visible?
Objection to the reference behind the tree. There's. Rephrase your question. Thank you.
Her movement there adjacent to the tree, was she in that position where she was found? Would her body be more visible or less visible to someone from a perspective at the creek?
At her current location, she'd be less visible because this tree is actually.
I'm gonna ask you, Major Cicero, the same question about Abby, about her movement, where you believe she was when she was injured, when her neck was cut, and where she moved to until she was succumbed to those injuries.
Based upon the lack of blood evidence anywhere else but this location, the best explanation is that she succumbed at this location here, where she's observed.
And where do you believe she was given the evidence that you reviewed, or the blood on her and her injuries, and where the blood was not? Where do you believe she was when her throat was cut?
Based upon the blood stain evidence, the context of the scene, she was at this location.
In what position, sir?
She was mostly likely in the supine position.
As she was found?
As she was found.
Have you observed crime scenes with victims suffering neck injuries, either this type or even less serious?
Yes.
What is unusual to you? Is there anything unusual to you about the lack of blood on the hands of Abby?
It's very unusual not to have any blood on the hands, in this case also the sleeves, which were over the hands at the time. There's no information or evidence to show that she died immediately. This would have taken some time.
How many times have you seen, in cases where there's been serious neck?
I've never seen it, not from an artery like that or a massive blood loss wound. They would always have some type of transfer stains on their hands or in their clothing.
In Abby's case, it was a vein. Do you agree?
Yes, it was a jugular vein that was breached.
What would be the explanation as to why there's no blood on that you can discern on the sleeves and cuffs and no blood on the hands of Abby?
There could be multiple explanations, such as she was bound, but there's no evidence of that. Pathology would be the one to tell us if potentially she was unconscious or she was restrained.
Would counsel approach, please?
Sidebar conference conducted.
We need to take a break. We've got some jurors that are having some difficulty.
Okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take our break. While you're outside the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You can discuss the evidence you've heard, but please, only do that if all 15 of you are present in the jury room at the same time, and please, don't deliberate. Gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury out at 4:12 p.m.
All right. Let's take 15 minutes, folks.
Off record at 4:13 p.m. On record at 4:28 p.m.
All right. Mr. Luttrell, are you ready to have the jury come back in?
We are, Your Honor.
Ms. Auger. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Okay.
All rise.
Jury in at 4:31 p.m.
Thank you. You may be seated.
You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Major Cicero, with regard to Abby, did you consider whether all the garments on her body were placed on her body after death? Were you asked to examine whether that was?
Yes, I was.
And now dealing with the upper clothing, which we know was the black bra, the gray bra, and pink top, and the sweatshirt, what is your opinion about whether she was wearing those items at the time she was killed?
It's my opinion, based upon my review of the clothing saturation, that she was wearing it at the time that she was killed.
Why do you conclude that?
The saturation stains were primarily on the interior portion of the sweatshirt. If she was completely naked at the time and dressed after the fact.
And did you see any sign or any indication that that had happened?
No, I saw no sign like that.
Are you familiar with the term core body temperature?
Yes, I am.
And what is that?
It's when investigators like crime scene investigators obtain a core temperature at the time of death to evaluate what's referred to as algor mortis, the cooling of the body, which, as a rule of thumb is by textbooks, appears to be approximately 1.5 degrees per every hour.
Of cooling?
Of cooling, yes.
And what methods are used when core body temperature is taken?
For at least crime scene investigators or coroners at the scene, the only known method that I'm aware of that somewhat would be rectal temperature, sir.
And you've been a crime scene investigator, right?
Yes.
And you've taught crime scene investigation.
Yes.
You've been tested on it.
Yes.
Would you recommend should the officers at this crime scene have taken a core body temperature via the rectum of either of the girls?
Based upon this investigation, I would say no. This is only because inserting an object like a thermometer, into someone's rectum could potentially, 1, create injury, it's my understanding in reviewing this case that there was concern for sexual assault, and also you never want to introduce anything that would potentially affect potential DNA in a sexual assault.
Regarding predation and entomology, you know what I mean by those terms?
Yes.
You defined entomology. What do we mean by predation?
Predation.
In this context?
I'm sorry, sir?
In this context.
Predation is the animal activity that would consume a decedent.
And do you have any experience in studying, in addition to the entomology you said that you studied, in studying predation and having experience with studies of bodies out in the open environment, such as these were?
Yes. So my experience and tenure at the University of Tennessee Anthropological Research Facility, which is also known as the Body Farm, again, I've been there for 18 years and primarily I do entomology, but part of the...
Did you see any sign of entomology, of blowfly activity, with relation to these victims in all the crime scene photos and reports that you reviewed?
No, I did not.
Would you be surprised if, in this location in Indiana, that you would have, in the middle of February, blowfly activity?
I would not expect to see blowfly activity. Blowflies are active when it is above approximately 50 to 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Blowflies are not active at night, and it's my understanding the victims had visited this location had been there overnight, and were not seen at any time in the nighttime. Blowflies are not active until in the later mornings, either. But regardless of that, their climate is always going to affect blowfly activity.
Would you expect to see in this region, in the area where the girls were found, would you be surprised not to see any predation activity at this time of year for an extent of perhaps as long as 22 hours before the girls were found?
I am not surprised that we didn't see predation on the bodies. As I stated, I've been doing research and doing my job at the University of Tennessee's Anthropological Research Center, and there's been times where, when I arrived, bodies had been laying out for weeks at a time and it had no predation. Predation animals that would be consistent with this area in central Indiana could be.
Major Cicero, do you consider, based upon crime scene reconstruction and the blood-stain patterns that you observed here, do you have an opinion as to the minimum number of individuals required to kill Abby and Libby?
Objection, Your Honor. This is completely outside Mr. or Major Cicero's area of expertise, and it's just complete speculation.
I think he's fully demonstrated that it's nothing close to being outside of his expertise. And he's not only been a crime scene reconstructionist, but he's taught it and has practiced it for a number of years, and I believe he can answer that question.
Overruled.
At least one person could have committed this crime. Obviously, one person had to have committed this crime, but at least one person committed this crime. It's possible based upon the context and all the information that's obtained at this point.
Thank you. I have no further questions. You may return to your seat.
Ms. Auger. At least one, possibly more?
I can't rule that out.
Okay. Now, Major Cicero, you were not asked to view this case until February of this year, right?
That is correct.
Did you drop something?
I think it was this tissue, it's okay.
Okay. So that's 7 years after the crime?
Yes, that is correct.
And in 2017, you were at the same place, the same location, doing the same thing. You're in LaPorte doing blood spatter, crime scene investigation, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And so there's no reason you couldn't have come out in 2017, other than you weren't asked?
That is correct.
You were not able to view the blood at the scene in person?
Correct.
You were stuck with using photographs?
That is correct.
And in 7 years, you would agree with the proposition that a forest can change?
I would agree, yes.
Undergrowth, trees grow, things are cut down, things like that?
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
Now, you spoke about the location of the bodies being in a bit of a bowl, is that right?
That's how I described it, but it was kind of a depression area, seems like it was a little bit of a bowl, if you will.
Okay. So they were in the lowest part of the topographical area, is that correct?
I cannot say the lowest part, there could be other areas in the forest that's lower, but in that particular scene that's what it appeared to be, yes.
Other than the creek, did you see anywhere lower?
I didn't walk the entire forest, but I'm assuming that there probably may have been.
When you were out there on April 4th of 2024, did you see any areas that were lower?
I don't recall.
You talked about the tree with the blood and the blood transfer.
Yes, ma'am.
And are you aware that others have referred to that as the F tree?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Now, Libby was mobile when her neck was cut?
The evidence would show that, yes, ma'am.
And mobile for a moment after that?
Yes, ma'am.
Blood is flowing down her neck and shoulders?
Yes, ma'am, that'd be consistent.
And there's a lot of blood?
Based upon those injuries, yes, I would agree with that.
And Libby's blood was found in several areas of the crime scene.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
And at some point, she was then sitting down, correct?
Based upon the blood-stain evidence, it appears as though, yes.
And then she was moved to the area where her body was eventually located?
I would agree, yes.
Are you aware you've reviewed the autopsy reports?
Yes, I did.
And are you aware of Libby's weight?
I don't know it right now. I remember her height, but not her weight, ma'am.
Okay. 200 pounds?
If that's what the report says, I would agree.
Okay. I'm going to show you what was previously marked as State's Exhibit 36. Have you seen this?
I have, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is it your testimony that Libby was drugged from here to here?
Indicates.
I believe you'd have to go lower as far as, are you talking about just her foot? Her head is...
Body.
Her body was obviously, yes.
Okay. There are a lot of leaves between the blood pool and her feet.
Yes, ma'am.
There are no marks in the leaves to indicate that she was drugged, correct? You can come down, if you'd like.
Oh sure. Well yes, there's still leaves there.
Okay.
But there's also leaves on her body as well.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Sorry.
No sorry.
I thought you needed, inaudible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, you said several of the flow patterns on Libby's face were not consistent with her final resting spot.
Correct.
And do you mean that, at some point, her neck was above her chin?
Yes, her head would have been back at some point, based upon the prints of those flow patterns.
So her torso, her neck were above her face?
I would agree, yes.
So someone lifted her body to create that?
Well, somebody would had to have lifted it, yes, for her neck to be lower than her body, yes.
Okay. And the same with Abby's body?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, you testified that the flow pattern was not consistent with her final resting spot.
Correct.
And you testified that she died in the spot where she was.
Yes, ma'am.
That is where her wound seems to have occurred.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for the flow pattern to be altered, at some point, her torso, her neck, had to be raised?
When I answered the question, I was talking about her being lifted. I don't know if she was lifted or not, but yes, her positioning would have had to been her neck was or her chin was lower than the actual injury itself, or she could have been turned, based upon the flow pattern, her neck back. Because our bodies can articulate in so many ways, it's hard to tell as to how the positioning was exactly, but in order for blood to flow, it's going to have to be below her chin's going to have to be below her neck.
So at some point, her neck is higher?
Yes.
And her body was never moved?
No.
Do you need this photo anymore? Pardon? Do you need that photo? Yes. Thank you. I'll take that back. Now, Major Cicero, when you do diagrams such as Exhibit 20, which I now have displayed on the TV, it's important to document the important pieces, important markings, items at the crime scene.
I would agree.
And that would be important to document the marks that identify what is happening.
Could be, yes.
And there's no indication on Exhibit 20 that indicates drag marks.
I agree.
Earlier, you testified that Libby's body was moved to the other side of the tree and that made it difficult to see from across the river.
Yes, ma'am.
But it made it easier to see if you're coming down from the cemetery.
I don't know if it'd make it easier or not, ma'am.
Well, it would be on the other side of the tree, right?
I would disagree with that.
Okay. Would you agree with me that the placement or agree with the proposition that the placement of Libby's body, in terms of concealment, completely depends on the viewer's point of view and the direction?
I would agree with that, yes.
If someone wanted to conceal the bodies, there are plenty of leaves at the scene.
Agreed.
Plenty of sticks at the scene.
I don't know about other sticks, but I can't say that there wasn't.
Okay. And you've actually seen bodies, in your experience, that have even concealed by leaves and sticks.
Yes, I have.
But maybe 3% of these bodies were covered by sticks?
If we're looking top down, then yes. From a different angle, it would be increased.
How much of the actual body was covered?
Which part of the body, ma'am?
If you take all of Libby's body, what percentage was covered by a stick?
Very small.
Very small.
Very small amount.
And the same with Abby?
Agreed, yes, ma'am.
At the time the crime scene was being analyzed in February 14, 2017, it would have been highly appropriate to document any type of drag marks that you saw.
Yes, that would be appropriate.
And that could be done by putting down evidence markers?
Yes.
Could be done by making notations on diagrams?
Yes.
Did you talk to Lieutenant Jerry Holman about your analysis?
No, I did not.
You testified that the lack of blood, you'd never seen a lack of blood such as on Abby's hands in a death investigation involving a neck?
Correct.
And that could be by multiple people holding her down?
If there's multiple people, yes.
Could be by someone washing her hands afterwards?
I'm sorry?
Could the lack of blood on Abby's hands be by someone washing her hands afterwards?
Someone washing her hands. Ma'am, I can't rule that out.
In your work as a crime scene eval or investigator, I apologize, have you ever photographed cartridges from crime scenes?
Oh yes. Yes, several times.
And would it be appropriate to hold a cartridge to get the whole side of the cartridge as you're photographing it?
At the crime scene?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd use the word appropriate. I mean, as long as it's documented. If we're documenting a cartridge casing, it's always best to it in a lab or a controlled setting, but we should document where it is in place, absolutely.
Okay. And is it important to document the entire bullet or cartridge at the scene?
I would think so, as long as it's documented at the scene where it's located.
Is there anything that would prevent you from documenting the entire cartridge at the scene?
Unless we're concerned about other evidence, such as fingerprints or anything, so you don't manipulate it as much, then yeah. But if there's no concern for that, then you can pick it up and document it. It wouldn't be wrong, but it's always best. I always tell crime scene investigators document them in place, collect it appropriately, obviously label it so you're not getting anything confused, because especially a bullet's fungible, and later documentation at a copy stand in a controlled setting.
You have to somehow get the bullet from or the cartridge from the ground into the envelope.
Yes, however they did that, yes.
And you could photograph as you're doing that with no additional handling?
Oh, you could, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And in all of your testimony here today, and all of your work on this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find anything at the crime scene, in the photographs, in anything that you reviewed, that links Richard Allen to the murder of Abby Orr?
No, I did not.
Thank you. Mr. Luttrell.
Consider all of the photographs that you saw, both at the scene and at the autopsy. Consider the crime scene, not just the diagrams, but the actual photo. Putting all that together, do you believe Libby was dragged across a bloody pool to the site where she was found?
Yes.
Why?
There's blood staining that extends from the coagulation to her final location. There's blood staining on the right side of her body and the bottom of her leg that would have been drugged through that to create this. So yes, I didn't see drag marks, but I can state that being there at the scene was also beneficial, that there's multiple layers of leaf fall. It was very thick. You may not see drag marks because the leaves are on her leg because of the adhesive nature of blood.
Did you believe her left arm extended above her head next to that tree was in a natural position where she would collapse or fall?
No. I theorized or hypothesized, that is, that her arm was used as a mechanism to pull her through the large blood stain, the pooling.
And one thing that among the things that this blood pattern evidence shows you, one thing is the position of Libby at some point when her...
Yes.
What was the position of her body when that happened?
The position of her body would have had to have been the leg was on the ground, if you will, for those flow patterns to occur because of gravity. For the projected pattern to occur and with her leg being in that position, the best explanation is she was in a seated position when the projected pattern was ejected out of the breach in either the carotid artery or the vein.
How many times was she stabbed, according to your study of the photographs and the autopsy report?
I believe at least 3, if I recall correctly, at least 3.
If she were in a sitting position and her head was pulled back or went backwards, would that put her in a position where the level of the neck was above her face?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you say that again?
If she were in a sitting position and her head went backwards, could her head go backwards to where her face was below her neck?
I believe it all depends upon the topography of the land for that to happen. I believe the best explanation is the moment when the body is dragged, it would automatically pull up the upper torso and the head would most likely fall back, hence providing the flow patterns to go across the face.
And why did you find the leaves on her back significant, Libby's back?
Because blood, one of its properties is its adhesive or adhesion, if you will. So blood is very sticky, so seeing the layer of leaves on the back would indicate.
You were asked about the tree being called an F tree, and you said you were familiar that some had called it that.
Yes.
But you didn't?
Yes, I called it the upside-down L, and the only reason I did that was because the lower horizontal part of an F didn't connect, so I said, well, that's an L. That's not an F. But I can see why the investigators called it an F because of the hue or the tone of the bark appeared reddish, but when we added the leucocrystal violet, it stains the actual blood, and we had a separate little transfer stain that I interpreted as a pattern transfer.
And when you say the best explanation is that was a transfer application, a transfer contact with a bloody object to that tree, did you have a bloody object in mind as the best answer for that?
Based upon the volume of the tree, the volume of blood upon that tree, and the available voluminous stains that would have been on the decedent's body, it shied upon the tree as well. We hypothesized that it was potentially her hand, which had a voluminous amount of stains on it, could have been maybe part of her arm, so we created a hypothesis that that's what created this.
Sir, can sexual assault occur without DNA of the suspect left behind?
Absolutely.
And without any physical injuries?
Yes.
In your opinion, did these injuries to Libby's neck, did they have to be inflicted at the same time, or could they have been inflicted at different times?
They could have been inflicted at different times. Any of the injuries would have produced a tremendous amount of blood based upon it being a carotid artery or a jugular vein.
Thank you. I have no further questions, sir.
Ms. Auger. Thank you, Your Honor. Major Cicero, you shared with us your hypothesis, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And a hypothesis is a supposition, yes?
I would agree.
A proposed explanation?
Yes.
You have no idea how that transfer got on that tree?
No, to absolutely say that it was just a hand. Could there have been other methods? Yes.
Now, it's important at the crime scene to take complete photographs and document everything at the scene.
I would agree.
And people like you later have to rely on those photographs.
Yes, agree.
Because those document important things.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And you take pictures of material things, things that are important?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
You said the injuries could have been inflicted at different times?
Yes. I can't rule out that all of at least 3, I may be wrong on that number, were inflicted at the very same time. Maybe did I even understand your question?
I'm not sure I understand your answer. Did you say you can't rule out that all 3 happened at the same time?
Correct, I can't rule out that it happened at the same time, nor can I argue out that it happened one of the carotid arteries or jugular vein was breached first and then later the others were breached, but I don't know.
And you can't rule out that Abby and Libby were killed at the same time?
No, I can't.
Thank you. Does anybody on the jury have any questions for Major Cicero?
No response or indication from any juror.
All right. Thank you, Major. You may step down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Where are we at?
Judge, may we approach briefly?
Sidebar conference conducted.
Judge, this is to revisit. We still haven't talked about making some Google search records of Mr. Allen. Obviously objected. I guess I should have. Inaudible, he said he's indicated in the interview that he was the sole owner. We don't have any information that multiple people. All the information we have from the interview with Steve Mullen, inaudible.
I mean, I can go back and show it's their burden to ask the proponent to show that no one else had access to that. Inaudible, that nobody else's has had access but.
Inaudible.
Well, I would ask to have a hearing outside the presence of the jury, if there's gonna be evidence that other people did have access to that.
I don't know who she's referring to who would have access to it.
Kathy Allen used that email address, and everyone in the home, they both were living there and had access to that. If they left Google open and whoever was on it, and, in fact, some of those searches were probably hers.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the first I've ever heard that. All of the indication we've had is that this is Rick's email, that this email's registered to him. It did return back with all his demographic information. He admits in the interview with Steve Mullen, this is his email account. All indications are it's his.
Do you want to do it now or?
I don't. Excuse me, Judge. I wouldn't have anything else to put in a hearing, besides what I told you now.
Oh.
That based on the evidence that the interview that's gonna be admitted, that part's not gonna be redacted, there's information that he says this is his email address.
And you've got case law? Yes. With you? You want me to grab it? All right. Well, let's do this. Let's let the jury go for the night, and then do this.
Do you want to just give these to the bailiff to hand out to them and collect the other ones? These are the ones I made copies of. Remember, they're the 5.
Yeah.
I did it over lunch. I went through and checked them all, just to make sure I stapled them right. I don't know if you were gonna. You said you were gonna take the ones back that we had given them before.
Or we can let them have them.
And then, as far as,
And I just think they can also have these.
I'm fine with that. I stapled these together so that they were kind of consecutive.
Sure, okay. That's.
But you just want to give them to you, and then you give them to the bailiff, or do you want to do it formally like?
No, just give them to them.
Okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the attorneys and I have a couple housekeeping matters that we need to attend to, and rather than stand over there and do that, we're gonna go ahead and let you go home for the night. Again, while you go on about your business then the rest of the afternoon and the evening, please, remember what I've told you about not talking about the case since you will be in the company and under the supervision of the bailiffs. Please don't discuss the case or deliberate in any fashion. Mr. Rossi has copies for you of his exhibits. I'm sorry, what numbers were they?
Q through V.
Q through V. And those were the microscopic drawings that there appeared to be some confusion as to whether or not you actually had all of the copies. He's going to provide to you those specific copies. Actually, why don't you give those to the bailiff, and we'll make sure that you have those in the morning, okay? So please have a safe and a peaceful evening.
All rise.
Jury out at 5:12 p.m.
You may be seated. All right. So, Mr. McClelland, over at the sidebar, you indicated that you had authentication you wished to present.
Judge, yes. The state would move to admit we have a Google search history for Mr. Allen, with a letter of authentication from Google for that search history related to an email by the name of fujaka0@gmail.com. A warrant was issued for that account. The subscriber information came back belonging to Richard Allen with that email, a date of birth, and a phone number. Mr. Allen also confirmed that this is the email that he uses at the interview with Steve Mullen October 13th of 2022, which has been admitted and stipulated into evidence, and the jury's gonna see tomorrow, we hope. And so with that, and the certification, the state would move to admit those records into evidence and ask the jury to consider those. And I provided a copy to the defense.
So I'm having Jody marks this as states.
I'm sorry, Judge.
No, you're fine.
I should have done that.
States Exhibit 289. Ms. Auger. Thank you, Your Honor. If I could have one moment, I would point the court that ask the court to view Watson v. State, 134N.E.3D 1038 at 1041, which was a case where the defendant, who was charged with. Do you have a copy of that case? I do. Mine is underlined and highlighted a bit. Yeah, I have not. I can't access my search history on. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sure. Anything else, Ms. Auger? Were you speaking to me? Yes. Anything else, Ms. Auger? Well, Your Honor, I think that it's the state's burden as a proponent to show that no one else had access. I understand that. I'm asking you if you have anything else as it relates to your object ion to State's Exhibit 289 other than Watson v. State. I have no other legal authority, Your Honor. Okay. Thank you. And does the state have any?
Judge, it's been a while since I've read Watson. I have read it, but I got to admit, it's probably been 5 or 6 years, and so I'll reread that tonight. But what I remember from Watson, or what I remember from that opinion, is that the state is not bound by 100% accuracy that only one person could have used this. There's a reasonableness test, Judge, and, based on the information, is it reasonable that this account belonged to that person? And so I think that, given what we provided the court, there is a reasonableness, coupled with the interview on the 13th. And so I'll reread Watson tonight, Judge, but that's what I remember the burden is from the state, and so I'll just leave the court with that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take this something else. Well, we have, Your Honor, we have Kathy Allen if we need her. She will testify about whether others had access to that computer and used it. Okay. All right. Is there anything else then before we recess? I do have one thing I need to bring up with you, but is there anything else that counsel has?
No, Your Honor.
No.
I'd like to talk to the court, if we could, just about some technical issues, maybe whittle down.
Okay.
Where we are for the record.
Sure. Okay. Could we have a sidebar, please?
Sidebar conference conducted.
Okay. I'll stand over here, so people won't read my lips. Okay. I'm asking counsel to from today forward, when we recess for the evening, the jury has been followed by this individual who was seen on a camera over by their hotel this morning. So to prevent them from leaving and then getting into their cars, I would ask that we just kind of have a 10-minute delay. It's gonna take the bailiffs 10 minutes from when they leave the courtroom to get downstairs, load up the vans, they have a chase car and a front car, and get the chase car and the front car out and sandwich in the vans to get them out of here. I haven't yet, we've just gotten the word from my detail that has happened. So it's a 10-minute delay. She's in the courtroom and she's been spotted on cameras. We've got police on all of the hotels that we've been utilizing.
Can we get a picture of her, so I can?
She's in the courtroom.
Could you show me who she is?
And we have her vehicle and she's been live streaming the entire thing outside. So this is crazy we have to do this, but this is what we're gonna have to do. So the other thing I wanted to bring up is Mr. Ives filed a motion to quash your subpoena, and anything he's gonna testify to, he has responded that it's all work product, according to his attorney's motion.
We've already told him.
We've told him to stand down, yeah?
All right. So I'll just grant the motion to quash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So.
One more issue to address about tomorrow, while we're all sitting up here.
Okay.
We gave them their redacted videos today.
Oh, okay.
With their redacted where in the transcript we redacted them, the page reference. My hope is inaudible.
Aha. Affirmative response.
That we'll play those two first thing in the morning.
All right.
They're an hour each.
Affirmative response.
I'll play inaudible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously that's
Did you get that?
ready for tomorrow.
Did you get that to Brad?
We gave it to Max and he put it
Oh, okay.
somewhere.
Okay. Good.
That was a good idea.
Yeah. But I would like to do that tomorrow, if you guys have a chance to.
Yeah, we'll be ready.
'Cause it seems to flow fast.
Okay.
We'll be ready.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me just check with my guy and see if he's, yeah.
Sidebar conference concluded.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and grant the motion to quash that was filed by Mr. Ives. I will take under advisement the Google search information. And I've been advised that the time has passed, so we are done, unless there's anything else we need to do. Thank you for the update on where you expect to be tomorrow.
Nothing from the state's perspective, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything from the defense?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. We are done. Jody, you can go off the record.
Off record at 5:22 p.m. On record October 29, 2024 at 9:03 a.m.
All right. Well, we are on the record. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on State of Indiana versus Richard Allen, 08C01-2210, MR1. I'll show the defendant Shear in person with counsel. The state is here by the prosecutor and his deputies. The juror members have now assembled. Are we ready to proceed, Mr. McClelland?
Judge, the state is yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes, Judge. We may need a quick sidebar before we start to just talk about some technical things.
Okay. Come on over.
Sidebar conference conducted.
So this is kind of the way this went down. We're talking about 2 interviews of Richard Allen conducted by the police, the 2 interrogations that they're getting ready to play.
Okay.
There's one on the 13th and one on the 26th. So the 13th was redacted, and we've looked at that, and there's no issues with that one.
Okay. And that's October 13th.
October 13th, 2022.
Okay.
I labeled it. I just put it as State's Exhibit, even though I think we're stipulating to it. I think, technically, Mr. Baldwin moved to admit it. I put a State's Exhibit sticker on it.
Okay.
'Cause we prepared their redacted version, yeah.
The 26th is, so there's a few issues with this one. The polygraph, or their redactions, are mostly polygraph references.
Okay.
There are a couple of different instances where Trooper Holman leaves the room and comes back. You know, kind of a typical interrogation kind of stuff that I think we're all kind of used to seeing, and they redacted those. I don't have a problem with them doing that, except I think the jury should know. I think it's important that they know the context, that he's leaving and so, then coming back.
Can you see him leaving, or is it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We basically took it out to make it shorter, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, so?
But obviously,
You know, and we don't.
made it shorter.
But I have a transcript where it references, hey, he's leaving and coming back. We thought maybe we'd give that to you and you de-explain it to the jury. Let them know when he leaves the room.
Do you care?
I don't care.
I mean, I think.
No, I'm fine with it.
They need context of that.
No, and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
But since I don't know any of that.
I have it marked.
Okay.
The other thing is that there's a reference. I'm looking for the page. Yeah, so there's a reference here that says, this is Jerry Holman talking, Trooper Holman. I'm telling you, we collected the weapon on the 14th, and we found the girls dead on Ron Logan's property back by the creek, next to the bridge that you were on. They redacted that, as well, because it has Ron Logan's name in it. I don't think it should be redacted, but I'm not going to sit here and quibble about it. We're going to make an objection, just because it needs to be consistent with our third-party motive position in this case, that we believe that third party.
Okay.
Evidence should come in, and I don't want to acquiesce to this just because.
I understand.
It has Ron Logan's name.
I understand.
We'll just lodge that objection.
Okay. Okay.
Then, the other thing I actually just noticed, it is what it is, I just noticed it, but the last redaction at the bottom. Folks in the gallery, they're making a record over here. You're talking, and the microphones are picking it up. They redacted the part where he was arrested, and there's no reference in here to anything involving polygraphs, so.
And I understand you may have thought that we wouldn't want him arrested or something. I think in a normal case, a good defense would be barking up a tree about that, but we're not.
I mean, it's already redacted, we can't show them now, because we're sitting here almost ready to tee it up, so maybe what we could do is just put in the transcript page to show them the end, and they can have the transcript. That's what I'm thinking we may do, just offer that up.
Just that last page.
Yeah, well we're gonna have to, clearly, redact the polygraph stuff.
Right.
But the end here, I think that's part of it. They arrested him. And I think, for context, you know, that should be in there.
Or maybe the judge could even read it into the record, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't have a problem. We took it out for obvious reasons. I didn't think the defense would like it, so.
Okay.
To save it time, inaudible, but if they want it in, I don't have a problem with it. I can have Jerry Holman if we could limit the scope of his testimony. I could have him get up there and introduce that and say, there are parts of the video where I step out that we cut out, and we've cut out the end where he's actually put in handcuffs. I don't where you can do it.
You want to just read it to them. Let them know the end was redacted and the parties.
That's fine.
Or just reading it into the record?
Sure.
I'll go get you the...
Let me see it so I know what I'm reading.
Yeah, it's this part only.
Is it question and answer?
Let me go see if I can get that other.
Our intent's to play these first, then.
Okay.
It's about an hour each, so it's gonna be 2 hours of them watching.
Okay.
And I'm hoping we can do both of them. I've got them all here, so I'm hoping.
These posts, are the references to him coming and going.
I highlighted them, too.
Okay.
'Cause there's 2 of them.
Okay. So I should have this on the bench with me as we go.
Yeah, you can follow along, yeah?
Just so I can follow along. And then, I will tell the jury at the very beginning. I will tell them at the beginning that I don't want to write on this.
It's a copy, it's just a copy. I mean, I understand you're using it, so it could be part of the record, but it's just one of the copies. I've got the original.
So you want me to tell them that portions of the interview have been redacted, as they don't pertain to this investigation?
Yeah, by agreement of the parties or something.
So there's...
I think that's fine, just kind of keep it neutral. The page 79 should be in there. Actually, the end of this, so yeah, it would be.
Okay. So with that,
It'd be lines 18 through.
you want me to get a post-it? No. But this you want me to.
Yeah, just read it in, yeah?
It's gonna stop right here. You've had your fucking opportunity.
Affirmative response.
And then he leaves the room, and then you want me, RA is your client, so I'm, fuck. Fuck you, police. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and then,
So you want me to read this?
yeah, I mean, if the court's willing to do that.
That's fine.
That'll save us bringing a witness up, and
No, that's stupid.
then, the second page.
As long as we're all in agreement on it. Yeah.
No objection.
Is page 80. It just kind of trickles over into the next page. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and put the first one in. There will be a little bit of a lull when we change out. The other issues is somebody broke the wheels on the thing last night, so it may take us a little bit to get it positioned so the jury can see it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Inaudible.
Possibly, but that's beside the point. We're gonna try to get it positioned where they can see.
Okay.
So that's gonna take us a little bit at this point.
'Cause you're gonna have to pick it up and okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
Okay. All right. So by agreement of the parties, the state's gonna introduce the 2 statements from October, I think it was 13th and October 26th. You want me to explain to the jury at the time that the interviews are being played, prior to them being played, that portions of the interviews have been redacted, as they don't pertain to the investigation, by agreement of the parties. And then, I have the full transcript, which I appreciate, Mr. Razi. At the end, there is a portion at the end where the state redacted Mr. Allen being arrested, and you want me to read that portion of the interview beginning on page 79, line 18, concluding on page 80 at line 5. Although I don't need to say, and further the witness saith not. Okay. So I'm not gonna, okay. So with that understanding, with their actions, are we ready to go?
Judge, yes. Just so their court's clear, the state would move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 290, which is their redacted interview from October 13th of 2022, and State's Exhibit 291, which is their redacted interview of Richard Allen from October 26th of 2022. State's Exhibits 290 and 291 offered.
No objection.
All right. So without objection, I'll show those items admitted, and then publication will occur when the jury comes back.
Correct, Your Honor. And I can move this again and, I guess, have get it set up and ready to go.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury in at 9:14 a.m.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you back this morning. I'll give you a moment there to get all settled in. We have provided to you defendant's exhibits. Through V, as in Victor, those will be images that I think there was a little bit of confusion earlier on whether or not you had all of those, so out of an abundance of pre-quotidian, I've asked the defendant to provide those to you in stapled packets, so you have that now. I think it was on the top of your materials. Again, we have extra copies of extra pads of paper and pens, so just continue to let us know what your needs are as we are getting through the trial. And again, as we have parted company, ladies and gentlemen, and you've had the opportunity to have access to your electronic devices for purposes of communicating with your families and to check your work emails, I know this is the time of year where everybody is having to re-enroll in their insurance. And I think all of us have had that experience, so I know that several of you have had, as well, so I hope that you've been able to accomplish that. So to that end, ladies and gentlemen, have you read, seen, or heard any media accounts concerning this case?
All jurors answer in the negative.
Have you discussed this case with anyone?
All jurors response in the negative.
Have you permitted anyone to discuss this case with you?
All jurors respond in the negative.
Have you conducted any research into this case?
All jurors respond in the negative.
And has anybody persisted in attempting to discuss this case with you?
All jurors respond in the negative.
All right. Well again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your continued compliance with the court's directives to avoid outside influences. I believe we are ready to continue. Mr. McClelland.
Judge, on Saturday, the state and the defense talked about interviews done between Steve Mullen and Tony Liggett and Richard Allen on October 13, 2022, and then Jerry Holman and Richard Allen on October 26 of 2022. The parties have stipulated to a redacted version of those, and I've admitted those into evidence as State's Exhibits 290 and 291, and we've discussed with the court and with the defense and, with the court's permission, I would like to play the two videos, redacted videos, first starting with October 13th and then moving into October 26th, as a way to publish that to the jury.
Okay. And Mr. Rossi, I know that you and the state had the opportunity to discuss their redactions. And ladies and gentlemen, their redactions are just portions of the interview that have been removed that don't pertain to the investigation, so that you're not wasting a bunch of time with people not having anything to do with this case, so that's the purpose of that. Any objection to the publication then, Mr. Rossi?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. You may proceed.
And Judge, we may have to reposition the TV. Not only that, we may have to work with the volume, so I'll need a little bit of feedback from the jury. I want to make sure that everybody can see and hear it. So the first question is, can everybody can the jury see the screen sufficiently enough, or should I move it?
Everybody can see. Okay.
Okay. I may have to play with the volume a little bit, Judge.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and get started here. By playing.
Gentlemen, we're gonna have to take a quick break. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna go ahead and take our morning break. While you're outside the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You may discuss the evidence that you've heard so far, but please, only do that if all 15 of you are present in the jury room at the same time, and please, don't deliberate. Gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury out at 10:46 a.m.
All right. Let's take 15 minutes, folks. Jody, you can go off the record.
Off record at 10:47 a.m. On record at 11:05 a.m. Sidebar conference conducted.
Listening to their redacted version, and there's a question. Have you ever been on Ron Logan's property? Have you mushroom hunted there? It's not redacted. I've looked. I can't find it in the transcript, but he says it's in there.
Okay.
But I don't want to be thought that the state opened the door for some kind of third party. I can't find it in the transcript, and I don't want to hold up the jury. I don't have a problem if it's in there, as long as it's agreed that it's not me opening the door.
Okay.
Yeah, they read general references to him anyway. They're not references to him being a suspect, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. So you're okay with it?
I'm not going to make any arguments, yeah?
Okay.
I was okay if they come in, so.
Okay. Perfect. All right. And this is the one where you want me to, at the very end.
Yeah, right.
Did you want me to say anything about him going in and out, or was that?
Yeah, I think we should just let the jury know.
But.
I just feel like the context is important. It's an interrogation.
The video's already in there. So are you gonna, inaudible, I think we've established that. You can let the jury know.
That there are moments where Trooper Holman is leaving.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you okay with that, Nick?
I'm sorry.
Where I just say there are moments where Trooper Holman leaves and re-enters.
Yeah. This is an hour and 34-minute video. There's times cut out there that we didn't think it was gonna be more than an hour, even though I thought it was.
That's more than one lie I counted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe the context form is, just like the first video, there's a few occasions where out of the...
Okay.
They saw that on the first video.
Yeah. Okay. I can do that. All right.
Sidebar conference concluded.
Okay. Then, I will just inform the jury when they come back in that there are moments where, like in the other video, where the officers are leaving and re-entering the room, and then, by agreement of counsel, I'll be reading that last little bit at the very end where it's redacted, but there is still activity that you would like me to share with the jury, those pages.
Agreed.
Page 79 and 80, those couple lines.
Yes, Judge.
Agreed.
All right. All right, gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury in at 11:10 a.m.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to publish the other interview for you. And as I told you on the first interview, there are portions that have been redacted that just kind of cut out some dead time, and things that aren't pertinent to the investigation, and again, moments where the officers are entering and exiting the room.
Thank you.
Mr. McClelland. By playing. All right. And, ladies and gentlemen, there's a little bit at the end of this that the parties have asked me to read you a transcript of. Detective Jerry Holman left the room, and you saw that. Rick Allen says, fuck. Fucking police. Oh. Detective Jerry Holman re-entered the interview room and stated, Jerry Holman, all right. Stand up. Put your hands behind your back. You're being detained for the murder of Abby and Libby. Rick Allen, witness, complies with that directive. Jerry Holman then states, hang on. I want to make sure those don't tighten up. Are they okay right now? Rick Allen, yeah. Jerry Holman, and they should not tighten up this way. And then Detective Jerry Holman and Richard M. Allen leave the interview room. That concludes our proceedings for this morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go ahead and break for lunch. Again, while you're outside of the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You may discuss the evidence that you've heard, but please, don't have any deliberations, just have discussions. Gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury out at 12:47 p.m.
You may be seated. All right. Is there anything that we need to discuss outside the presence of the jury, Mr. McClelland?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rossi?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be in recess till about 1:45. And if everybody would just kind of sit tight for a moment, till the jury gets back to the jury room, we'll then allow you to leave. Jody, you can go off the record.
Off record at 12:48 p.m. On record at 1:45 p.m.
Okay. We're back on the record. I see Ms. Diener and Ms. Auger have not rejoined us, but are we ready to proceed, Mr. McClelland?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Gentlemen.
Judge, could we have a quick sidebar?
Sure.
Sidebar conference conducted.
I was just thinking about some mechanics again. So we're getting ready to get some DOC people in here. So some of these confessions are going to come in, and I thought maybe I would just go ahead and make my objections now.
Okay.
And incorporate everything that I argued in the hearings in July.
Okay.
The last 3 days in July, I think the 31st might have been.
July 30th to August 1st.
There you go, yeah?
It was on the 31st.
So I'll just go ahead and incorporate those. That way, we're not, doing this
Okay.
on the fly here.
Okay.
And then, the same thing with regard to the testimony from the guards, inmates, other prison officials about his demeanor and all that. Those were arguments we made in Fort Wayne.
Correct.
In Allen County, on those dates you gave me, I'd like to move to incorporate those as well.
I think it was the 17th of.
I've lost my inaudible.
I don't know what even today is. It was the 17th of October, 'cause we started jury selection October 14th and then.
Yeah, you're right, it was during that.
The motions were after that. I think it was after we picked the jury, you all came back and we argued the motions and then we all.
So I moved to incorporate those legal arguments as well.
Okay.
And then that way, we're not making any objections.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
That way, because you've made a great record at all of those hearings, so I think we can, and I'll grant your motion to incorporate all of those
Okay.
into these proceedings.
Very good.
Thank you.
Sidebar conference concluded.
All rise.
Jury in 1:47 p.m.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope lunch was okay for you. We are ready to continue. Mr. McClelland, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state of Indiana would call John Gallipo, please.
Witness sworn.
Will you state your name, please?